Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Adventure Paradox podcast. Kat here, and I have with me a guest who I have been following for quite a while now. It is such an honor to share some time and space with you, Kathy Pike. Oh my gosh, I'm going to introduce you in just a moment, but first, for our listeners, can you just tell me where in the world you're zooming in from and how you are today?
I am zooming in from Newcastle, Colorado, which is near the Roaring Fork, Carbondale, Aspen area. And I'm doing great. I'm really excited to be here with you, Kat. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, you are so awesome, Kathy. And before we started recording, you were talking about your past era in Park City as a ski bum and all these things. We have so many things in common. But today, we are going to dive into horses, horse consciousness, and so many more things with this incredible teacher in the space. Without further ado, let me give you a proper introduction, Kathy Pike. Kathy is an advocate for equine intelligence and the founder of the Academy for Coaching for Horses. She is a speaker, coach, artist, nature lover, new thought leader, and an internationally published author of two card decks and four books. As a pioneer in the field of equine facilitated learning and coaching, EFLC, Kathy has taught EFLC certification programs worldwide. Her work has reached over 25 countries as she has trained thousands to employ the horse as a guide and mentor for the human heart and spirit. Wow, thank you. I feel like we just right there, hats off. Like I'm at your mercy for the work that you're doing and the number of people that you have, mentored and been working on this work with. How did it begin? Like, where did the certification process start for Kathy Pike?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I knew right away, um, when I got into the work, I knew right away it was something that I wanted to teach others. It was just so clear for me. I didn't even think about it. And um, just kind of started to create a program shortly after finishing my program. I was just so passionate about the power of it that for me, it was about empowering a lot of other people that would empower a lot of other people, and it would make a significant change in the world that would really benefit horses and help horses to be seen as the intelligent beings that they are, and how
Mm.
it can give us so much more than what the old ways were. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, preaching to the choir here. I remember Pam Kakelmeyer. I don't know if you're familiar with her work, but she talked about horses. If we think about dimensions, and humans are maybe in the seventh dimension of consciousness, being in the 33rd dimension of consciousness. Let's just go big here and start there. How do you describe or think about this equine consciousness or consciousness of horses that you're touching on and wanting to connect more people to?
Well, for me, there's a greater intelligence in the field of horse consciousness that for maybe their lifetime hasn't been really, or their time through history hasn't really been honored. And so, as far as like their consciousness and how it comes through here on this planet, um, to me, they're not here to do something for us.
Mm.
They're here for us to explore and have the adventure, the paradox of the adventure, um, from your words, um, to have that in our lifetime and to have that as part of our journey to our own greater consciousness, journey into the depth of who we are, but also in the journey of appreciation for Mother Earth and all of her creatures. That intelligence that's there, I think is really, really important. And I watch a lot of podcasts. I watch a lot of things around consciousness, on YouTube and such. And it's fascinating how everything is moving so quickly into AI, so quickly into kind of raising our consciousness, and the world is becoming a different world. But I truly feel that the horses are here and all the animals and all the creatures, to reconnect us to the rhythm of Mother Earth and to not lose that in our process of evolving into these higher realms of technology, that the two have to be together.
Mm,
So our work, I feel, on the planet with them is about understanding the invisible communications and understanding how they can ignite something in us that we are blind to. They can also ignite the shadow side of us, which I know you're very familiar with Debbie Ford's work. They ignite whatever needs to be seen at this particular time of our journey. So it's a completely different approach where maybe the traditional approach has been, here's the horse, I need to get something done in the world. And I'm going to train the horse on how to help me. I'm going to use that horse's horsepower to achieve whatever that task is. And, that goes way back in time, whether it was war, whether it was plowing the field, whether it was taking the food to market with the cart. And then it evolved in, okay, well, now it's a recreational. Let's use that horse for winning our blue ribbons in whatever division of sport we're participating in, whether it's polo or hunter jumper or dressage. And now this is the next evolution of our engagement with horses, which is about how can the communication and the connection and how can it be very much two-way, but not just in a doing, but also in the being
mm.
with and understanding that process of the depth of that connection through more being. And it sounds so weird when I say it. I hope I'm coming across the right way.
I think you are. And again, you are preaching to the choir, so I'm right there with you. A
Yeah.
follow-up question I have is AI and horses, and maybe this next space of their evolution and consciousness. How do you propose we do that together? Like, what do you see? What ideas do you have about merging those two things?
Yeah, well, that's a topic I haven't really spoke publicly about because I've just recently started to toy around with AI. But I think what's going to happen with AI and the consciousness of horses is that the more people who are engaging with AI, and whether it's they're doing their marketing materials, they're writing articles, they're asking questions. It depends on which AI you're using, right? Like which AI are you engaged with? But the more that that happens, the information bank that AI is going to be basically connecting to is going to feed back whatever it's put into it, right? So the more people that are like-minded, like you and I, who are really interested in this kind of newer way of being with horses, and we're interested in the horse consciousness, we're interested in the spiritual connection with horse. What are they here really to teach us? How can we travel with them at these higher levels or realms? And where are we going with them when we're doing that? The more people that are engaging in that conversation with AI, the deeper and more expansive that conversation is going to be. Yeah,
So good.
yeah.
So I think you'll get a kick out of this. I went to AI and I asked, are horses the antidote to all the problems with technology and AI? And I asked this question repeatedly, Kathy Pike, and it was very interesting because it basically kept kind of like regurgitating the same answer, which is possibly yes, but don't leave AI. Stay here because there are things horses can't do that I can do for you. It was really interesting. Like
Interesting.
the system was trying to make sure you wouldn't come to a conclusion that would have you leave technology behind. And
Well, I think that's dependent on which platform you're
right.
using. And so I've been conversing with this one, and I don't want to go too far into it, but it's been it's interesting experiment for me because as I share some of my writings, my web pages, that AI understands my perspective on it, and it is starting to tell me what I already know.
Yeah.
and like we were going to talk about elderly horses, so then I've been asking some questions about my elder horse's path and these sorts of things. And it's kicking back stuff that I already know, but it's a
Mm,
interesting experience to read it from this intelligence that you have. There's like, it's just coming from somewhere, right? But
mhm.
for me, it's like having a conversation with yourself. And the AI that I'm using is supposed to be one of these first that really mirrors back your own energy. So it's fascinating. So I would be leery of using an AI that doesn't want you to leave,
Right,
or that is trying to hook you in any particular
right,
way. So
right.
yeah, we could have a
Well,
side conversation about that
it's
if
a
you
whole
want.
side conversation. We're going to do a whole other podcast on that. Back to what you were just alluding to, which is also where I was going to go, because I see a parallel with essentially the more you educate or work with or train, quote, and spend time with and bond with this artificial intelligence, the more it knows, et cetera, et cetera. And
Right.
the parallel I see is with an elderly horse. And on average, most horses have 7 owners in a lifetime. So I don't know the story with your elderly horses, but I have seen two horses that you've been talking a lot about who are at the later stages of their life and connecting with them. And I feel like there's so much wisdom. And I was telling you, I was at this carriage classic this weekend and I was driving this little 25-year-old pony. He has so much wisdom as a teacher because he has so much experience that
Yeah,
these 5-year-olds and 4-year-olds and 10-year-olds, it's there, you just can't substitute that because he's been here a really long time and he knows a lot, had a lot of conversations, right? I
yeah,
would love to hear more about your thoughts about working with a wiser intelligence, this older horse. I think a lot of people in the audience might be familiar with, can't teach an old dog new tricks, like these different ideas about older dogs, right?
right.
But not have a real familiarity or understanding with the unique qualities of the older horse.
Yeah. Well, first I would say that saying you can't teach an old dog new tricks is so not true. It depends on the dog.
It does. Every time, every time.
Right? It just
Yeah.
depends on the being that you're working with, whether it's a donkey, a dog, or cats are not part of this trick thing. No, I take that
Another
back.
podcast.
You
Yeah.
can work with the cats on tricks too. But it's the mind of the being. Some of them love tricks, some of them love learning. It's you have to really start to sink into who is this horse as an individual?
Mm,
And I think, when we become formulaic with training or how we approach horses, we have the tendency to not see who they are at that deeper soul spirit level. And when we can switch that and really start to understand, who is this horse and what is this horse's needs on his or her journey on,
mm,
on planet Earth, and how can I sink into those needs, understand them better, and co-create a healthy environment so that this horse can age.
yeah.
It's shocking to me. I actually have never researched to find out the average amount of owners a horse would have. My horse Moon has had two, one of them being me, and he's
Mm,
my elder, the 33-year-old. And Diva, I think, has had three, the
mm,
last one being me. So that's pretty crazy when I think of it. And it tells you a lot about what we do with horses.
yeah.
Because the bottom line is now that I'm in the elder years with horses and I'm caring for these two, I had a herd of six and I've had to come down in the amount of horses that I have. So I've had to let go of some horses.
Mm,
I mean, it's been heartbreaking for me because my dream was to take them all to the very end. But as I'm aging, that became impossible. So, anyhow, that journey of understanding what your horse needs as an individual is crucial if you want your horses to age well. And the relationship part is just fascinating. It's, they become family members. And I know anybody who's listening that has a horse that they've had for longer than 10 years, really after 5 years, you start saying that, when you're just like, this is a family member, like this horse is going to stay with me. When you make that commitment, I'm going to see this horse to the end, it's a whole other layer and level of
Yeah.
experience. Because it's a family member that you're going to see to the end. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And it is reminding me of a neighbor I had early on when my horse Jet, who's been with me 15 years now, but it was the first couple of years I had him. And I remember her asking me, I don't get it with you horse people. Like, how can you not keep him forever? Like you're going to keep him forever, right? And I remember my thinking at the time, I'm actually tearing up even talking about it, but I remember thinking at the time, I was in my late 20s, like, I'm going to get this horse, I'm going to turn him around and make a lot of money on him, this whole thing. And I'll tell you, he turned me around, it was like, you and I are made for each other, and I'm not going to go anywhere. You're mine and I'm yours. And so then when I met my husband, and as time went on, I passed that threshold where I realized I'm never selling this horse. There's no amount of money. Like, it's not about that. You know what I mean? We have a bond for life, and we're here till death do us part. And it's a really different commitment with an animal. And I think to your point, you were talking about what your elderly horse needs, but it's also, and what each individual horse needs, it's what the human needs, because our needs do change over time. And I have had one horse, a young pony who I took in when my children were young, and I was teaching this Get a Pony gap year program. And it was during the pandemic when a lot of people were kind of in this gap year space. And he turned out not to be a good fit. It was very clear. He was food aggressive. He was aggressive towards children. I couldn't trust him. There were a lot of things. It was very clear that in the 6 months since the last time I'd seen him, he had gotten literally hungrier and hungrier, lost a lot of weight, and something was going on.
Hmm.
And I remember when I recognized I don't want to send him back to where he came from, because obviously what was going on there is not good, but I can't keep this horse on my property with young children doing the program I'm doing. So my vision for him was this or better. And that co-creation that's possible when we start to visualize and really work with animals. And what came out of it was a beautiful story, which this woman, you put it out on your Facebook and you don't even know the ripple. Speaking of that artificial intelligence of who might come through, but she was looking for a smaller equine to work with adult Vietnam vets through PTSD. It was
Mhm.
the perfect fit for him.
Wonderful.
He
Yeah.
wasn't worried about them. He was able to, and he had a beautiful last 2 years of life there, and was really changed her life, and so many. So I feel like, again, coming back to another space that I didn't know I wanted to go to, but I really want to go to, and especially since you have this coaching academy with horses. I'm guessing you might attract a lot of people who don't have horses in their life. And how do you invite people into the space of connecting with a horse if maybe they don't own a horse or have horses near them?
Well, when I was doing a lot of workshops pre-COVID, I did work with a lot of people who maybe did not have horses, but were really interested in being with horses in a non-traditional way. So
Yeah.
this body of work that you're familiar with, this coaching with horses, the equine facilitated learning, the equine assisted learning. It gives people an opportunity to be with horses without the pressure of training.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thing how much it's bloomed. I mean, I watched it now for 23 years. So workshop time, no problem. But when people want to come and work with me and learn how to facilitate other people on I'm sorry, but I'm not sure I said that correctly. When people come to me and they want to learn how to facilitate other people with a horse, they need to have a horse that
Hmm.
they're either leasing, but my preference is it's a horse that they've had
Yeah.
and that they already have a baseline communication with. If they don't, it happens because the way that I teach my program is that people deepen into the relationship with the horses that they're working with first, and they start to learn the language of equus. It's like, what
Mm,
is the horse's language? Not, it's body language, yes, but there's a whole other level of language with horses.
mm,
And I want people to start to understand that. And that has to do with emotional intelligence and energy. And to be able to start see it and read it and understand how important that is when we're helping people have their experience with a horse. To me, the emotional intelligence part is a part that's vital. And it's
mm,
vital to have not on the surface, but to really have that horse teach us deeper levels of emotional intelligence. So to come back to your original question, workshops, it was great. It's an introduction. When people are learning how to actually do the process, many of them have their own horses, they have their own herd, they want to grow into their next step, their next level with their horses. They're looking more for a spiritual connection and a way to give back.
yeah.
Um, and that's the best situation. But I've had other people that have come in and they've leased a horse and then they've learned.
Mm,
So there's pros and cons to it. Yeah. Yeah.
powerful. Yeah, it is interesting. I'm thinking similar to the journey of working with a horse into old age, and again, some of the unique qualities of an older, more experienced horse who also might not be able to do some of the quote training things it used to do, but
Yeah.
is still very, very present spiritually. In fact, maybe because of all those years, even a deeper presence spiritually. And I used to be a board member here for our horse adoption program incorporated, and we would, be the space to support abused, neglected, abandoned horses who need a new home. And there were many training things that would come with that. But there is this growing body of work and attraction for the spiritual connection. And I feel like if we go back in time, the turn of the century, again, when we stopped working with horses day to day, 1922 was the year where we started having more cars than horses on most major streets around the world. That was only 100 years ago, right? And shortly thereafter, we entered the Great Depression. I'm curious about what you think we're on the precipice of and how horses might support us in healing right now from the disconnection that I feel like is imminent on some level, that people have to make a real effort to stay connected to each other today.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole, again, the way that we see horses, it's changing.
Mm,
Yes, they can be tools for horsepower for our recreational desires. And it's not that anything is wrong with that. Um, but I think that there's also an opportunity for a shift for many people to go deeper into that spiritual connection, into the idea of family, into the idea that if the horse isn't really performing or offering what you need or want in that moment, to be able to really look at, okay, well, is it because it's not a fit, or is it because there's something else here that the horse needs that's
mm,
I can give the horse, or like in your situation, I can't give that horse, so I need to find a better environment for that horse.
mhm.
So I think this wave of looking at, or this way of looking at horses is becoming much more prevalent than maybe it was many, many years ago. As far as the greater picture of where are we evolving to, how is it different than 1922? How is it different than, 1850? How is it just plain different? And
Mm,
where are we heading? Well, what's different is that it's more people are looking at things this way, which only means more people are going to be looking at things this way, meaning, what is the horse teaching me?
yeah.
Like, even what's happened in the 22, 23 years I've been teaching this work, it's amazing to me how many people are thinking this way, how many people, it's now common language. Like when I first started, people would look at me cross-eyed and like, where are you from? Like, where, you are a unicorn. Like, no, not in this barn. And now ironically, I'm living where I first started to do the work. I'm living very close to that area. So 23 years ago, 22 years ago, people were like, no, we don't have any time. We're sorting cattle, we're doing this, we're doing. Whatever you're
Mm,
up to, we're not interested. And then as I come back, there's groups of people doing things like I'm doing, or they're doing specialty programs for children with autism, and
mhm,
it's everywhere. So I'm like,
mm,
okay, in the last 22 years, it's really evolved. Instead of like one or two of us, there's like all these people, utilizing the power of horses and their generosity, but also their intelligence, and it's happening in a different way.
mm,
So the future, the more people that are doing this type of work, then the broader that it goes. And then my desire, of course, is that all the people that are teaching this work and providing this work are going deeper into the spiritual connection and the understanding of horses' consciousness, and where they're taking us in our own evolution.
yeah.
And then that just it's I hate to say this, but it's coming through. It's a numbers game.
Mm,
It's like, okay, I've always kind of been at kind of the front edge of things. So years ago, I became a massage therapist. And this was years ago. We're talking, I don't even want to tell you how long ago. But anyways, it was a long time ago. And I remember my parents were like, well, then are you a masseuse? Are you like, in the negative way?
mm,
Like, what are you doing? It was like at that place, at that time, to be a massage therapist was like that was a new thing. Health food stores would be one health food store in a city,
mm,
right? When I did polarity therapy energy work, it was just at the very beginning of that happening. And now, I do a lot of intuitive work and I channel, and now channeling is just booming. Everybody is like channeling, or very curious, not everybody, but many people are very curious about it. Where years ago, if you were a massage therapist, an energy worker, a channel, you were definitely a unicorn.
mm,
So that's how consciousness works. More people start to engage with different modalities that are helping them deepen into their spiritual and soul journey.
yeah.
And then they bring that forward into the world, and then more people are exposed to it. And that's exactly what's happened with this work with the horses. And now you can find so many different people articulating this work in so many different ways, and it's all over. And I've worked with people all over the world, and yeah, there are some countries that it's relatively new, like
Mm,
Turkey.
mm,
You don't find a lot of people in Turkey doing it. I have one student now in Turkey, and I've got a lovely person in Estonia. So, there are pockets where, yeah, it's not prevalent, but there's so much more out there than there was 23 years ago. So I'm not sure if I
oh,
answered your question,
well,
but
I just want to echo and thank you again for what a huge part of that you are,
oh,
Kathy, and the number of people you've influenced and that ripple effect, to enter all these other countries and what you're doing.
thank you.
Um, oh gosh, yeah, I feel like I feel like that just needs a moment of gratitude for your work. Because it really, without you saying this is important, and even when people are saying, what are you doing? Why, we're doing this, you just continued with the work and just being present and deeper to it. And that is a kind of channeling. And I would love to hear you share maybe a little bit more about channeling and how that started. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. And before I go there, thank you for seeing that and acknowledging that. Because it's an interesting thing to put so much out into the world, but then I spend actually quite a bit of time alone, especially after COVID.
Mm,
And that pathway, as you've written your own book and you're doing work around consciousness, you're working with horses. It's an extremely vulnerable journey,
yeah.
and I had no idea how vulnerable and tough it was going to be. I mean, super tough, really has stretched me so much. And I had to really work through a lot of my own shadow side pieces or areas of growth around being able to be vulnerable and still love myself when
Mm,
maybe I was striking out and saying things that I believed in, but maybe weren't always received.
mm,
And now years later are being received. It's just been a fascinating journey that way. So
mm,
I
mm,
wanted to mention that. And then as far as the how the channeling developed, so I've always been a super high intuitive. And as a young person, most of the intuitive hits that I would get would actually be about really bad things that were going to happen to somebody.
mm,
And, we're talking like when I'm 16 years old, seeing a high school friend, well, hearing that he's going to pass away, that he's going to die. 20 years old, shaking somebody's hand who's going on a climbing expedition with my boyfriend at the time, and knowing that something horrible was going to happen and
mm,
that one of them was going to die, but I didn't have the ability to articulate that. I remember telling my boyfriend I didn't want him to go, but and his partner ended up falling to his death. So
mm,
when you
mm.
have those things happen at a younger age, you really don't want to invite more of that in,
Yeah.
right? So I always kind of put my intuition to the side and kind of, try to keep a lid on it, so to speak. When I started to work with the horses and I did a lot of my own healing, and when I started to really create strong flows in my body, if you will, with the chakra system,
Mhm, mhm,
opening up those energy centers. And when you're in horse time, as you know, when you're in horse time and your brain waves slow down and you're breathing differently, your system, your nervous system resets, and there's a lot more available to the experience, including the spiritual experiences. So for me, what started to happen is when I was with the horses, I was experiencing a lot higher levels of intuition. I'm getting insights that were not about disastrous things.
mm,
And then what happened was because I became a more connected person to my higher self and to the realms of consciousness. What happened is I had this beautiful little cottage that we all met in, and it was like, up to 10 people maybe. And I would be lecturing, and people would say, "Would you repeat what you just said?" And I would kind of be like, don't know how to, I can't, because there was another guidance coming through. There was like
mhm,
it felt to me like the greater horse consciousness was speaking through me, even in the context of this work. And so I
mm,
would say things that it would start to flow in a way that I wasn't having cognitive recognition. I was kind of in my brain kind of going, yeah, 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 but it's not like I could recall and
mm,
repeat exactly what I had said.
mm.
And so that's how it started actually, was actually teaching. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. And then I really got deep into meditation. And
Mhm,
then I started to just take that whole thing to a whole other level. And that's how my book, Horse Spirits Speak, came about. It's basically transmissions of the higher levels of horse consciousness, all of it done in classes that we recorded and then we transcribed.
mm,
And then, of course, my two card decks, one of them in particular, the Oracle of the Sacred Horse, that was all downloaded. And
mhm.
I can't tell you how many people use that deck, and I get such great feedback on it. It's really a beautiful deck. So, yeah. So it
Oh,
just kind of happened. It's not like I went out looking for it.
that's the real stuff, though. I feel like the real work finds us, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
it just it lands because we're built for the landing, right?
yeah, yeah. And
So,
when there's an opening and when there's an alignment, and sometimes not too, though. I mean, when there's an opening, yes, sometimes not when there's an alignment. Like as a kid, as a teenager, I
mhm.
didn't want all that
We're not
information.
ready for it. Yeah, didn't know what to do with it. Yeah,
There's an
yeah.
opening. I'm a uber high empath. like
Mm,
ridiculously high empath. So that happens a lot for individuals who are empaths, that
mm,
it's easier for that flow to happen because we're
yeah.
open beings. We're open beings like a horse. I always
Mhm.
felt like I was teaching this horse work because I'm super open as a being. My sensitivity levels are very much like those of a sensitive horse. And of course, all horses have different levels of sensitivity too. They have different levels of wisdom that they come in with. They develop different levels of wisdom. Not all horses want to do this work. Some
Yeah.
of them would rather be a hunter jumper, would rather
Yeah.
be out there collecting cattle.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
All individuals. It's so interesting. And it's making me think of this book I have sitting here, which you've probably seen, Horse Brain, Human Brain. I'm sure you've seen it, but
Yeah.
her sort of finale, and she's a neuroscientist and also a horsewoman, is the horse must come first in all the things we think about and do,
Yeah.
and just how powerful that is. Okay, so my last question, you said something earlier. You said that it's all a numbers game. And I was thinking about that, and I'm thinking about two things. One thing I'm thinking about is, and studies vary because it was really hard to keep records back then, but around 1900, we had about 25 million horses in the United States. Today we have 7 million. The all-time dip in the last 100 years was around, I believe, 1954 when we had 2 million.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about the numbers game and thinking about the possibilities of the incredible technology we have. And before we hopped on, you said you were doing a virtual session with someone with their horse, right? And
Mhm.
what's possible, because it's amazing how we live now, where we can have so many friends. I mean, I can connect with folks who I grew up with in Wenatchee, even though I live here in Idaho, and I grew up in Santa Fe. And, Facebook has connected me with lots of different friends who know each other, who I didn't know they knew. It's kind of amazing, these connections. And you, as a teacher and channeler, could literally make a video or a book that millions can see
Yeah.
when we cannot actually be in physical real space with a million at once,
Yeah.
right? What is your thought or what is your desire with these possibilities of teaching so many? Like the numbers game. I know you talked about like your vision, but I just feel like there's still something there with the numbers to share with us that you see.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of feel like I'm pretty small now in this world. I think, I kind of feel like maybe I was at the races in the beginning and now I've been put out to pasture. I'm not sure. But I went to my YouTube page and I was like, oh wow, something like 7,000 people have watched this video. And it's like a video I made 25 years ago. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, should I update it? And I'm like, no, whatever people want to see, they can see. So it's an interesting thing in that if I really like got after it, the numbers to game could really change for me.
Mm, mm,
But in my elder years or getting older, I personally have maybe gained a little bit more wisdom, especially after the last 4 years, and had to really look at how am I doing what I'm doing and what is the drive for what I'm doing? So when I first started, the drive was I want to change consciousness with horses. I want as many people to get into this and experience this and keep spreading the word. Well, I still have that desire, but instead of going out and trying to spread the word, my perspective has shifted in that I'm like, okay, I have this body of knowledge. It's all now, everything is on the internet. Everything
mhm.
I've ever taught is now in my academy. It's all recorded. And now it's whoever resonates with this deeper way of being with horses will find me.
Yeah.
And so going back to the numbers game, it is a numbers game. I mean, okay, if in 1954 is when the big switch happened, um, Well, as you know, there's a really good reason for that. In 1954 and in those years, there was a tremendous amount happening with the telephone and airplanes and with cars. So there's a great book called The Ride of Her Life, and it's about a woman from Maine, and I'm originally from Maine, who at 62 was told that she had pneumonia and she should just bag it, hang it up, go, go convalesce at a home or whatever. And instead she said, screw it. She grew a bunch of cucumbers, raised some money. And at this time, I don't think she had a phone. She just lived in the land in Maine. She raised money, bought a horse, and she rode her horse across the United States. Well, the book is fascinating to see like what happened on our journey, but also she talks about she didn't have a cell phone to Siri, how do I get to the next town?
Right.
There were barely atlases, right?
Right.
So that was really all before technology and faster travel happened. But as soon as those pieces came into play, everything has changed. Well, her relationship to the land and to the people is so different than a traveler today.
Mm,
Plugs in, what's the blue zone I need to visit, and then buys the ticket and goes off to the blue zone. She bumbled along. She didn't even have a plan. She didn't even have a plan. And when people come in to work with me, I tell them your life is probably going to change in this year because you're going to learn how to live differently. You're going to learn how to live the way of the horse.
yeah.
But most people are like, no, 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 I got to have a plan, which really, life really starts to happen when we let go of control and we let go of those plans.
Mm,
So there's a huge change in our consciousness that's happened from 1954 and on, and it's called how quickly we can control things or have the idea that we're controlling things, and how important future planning has become and logistics have become versus the I'm going to go on a trip and let's see where the trip takes us.
mm,
And to me, the horses are teaching us about I'm going to go be with my horses and let's see where I go with the horses. Not meaning physically over the hill, but where does this journey of my day being with the horses go? And
mm,
not having this set agenda. We're going to do this thing and we're going to discover this thing and you're going to have this answer. That's
mm.
so where everybody is on the journey right now. So I digress. I kind of went on a little side thing there. As far as the numbers, what was your question around it? Like what
So one of the things I'm thinking about is you can make a video. I mean, let's say in a single day, you could connect with 100 different people if you wanted to do a 10-minute session with each person, one in Turkey, one here, one there, and not even leave your desk, right?
yeah,
And in real time, if you were having people show up, inevitably someone would be like, "Oh, traffic, running late," And I feel like that invitation, what you were talking about, that horse time and this consciousness that they're inviting us back to, I feel like a really, 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 really big important piece of it is
it
being in
is.
real
And
space.
and the gift is, wow, okay, technology has taken us into we don't bumble along anymore and we go, 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 and we click buttons and we get what we want immediately.
Yeah.
And what I hear you saying is, yeah, and then that happens for this work. That happens like people can click a button. They can click a button and join something that I've got on the internet and then bam, start changing their consciousness just like that.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. And that's why at first, when I first started the work, everybody was like, you need to do video, you need to get this recorded. And I was like, no way. I mean, this is 20 years ago. I was like, no
Yeah.
way. And then COVID, I was like, well, I guess if I'm actually going to make it through, I better start videoing. And so I did
Yeah.
my level one. And then all my ladies were like, well, where's level two?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's level two? And then, well, where's level three?
It's truly incredible what this technology has created. I mean, again, the ability to connect with you today and not have ridden a horse for 10 days to get there. You know what I mean? Which I would do, just so you know, Kathy Pike. To me, you're still very big, just so you know, I would
Well,
do.
that'd be quite a ride for you.
Ride of my
Be the
life.
ride of your life.
Oh,
It
well,
it
thank
is
you.
very, very true though. And I, because I'm such a forward future thinker, sometimes I giggle because I think, okay, Kathy, you've put everything that you've ever taught online. It's all there. It's available for people. And when do I become no longer relevant? Not, I shouldn't say I, but when does everything that I've created and how to be with horses in this way become the old way? That's where I go with it. It's like, when does this become the old way? And if this
Mm.
is the old way, then what is the really new way? That's maybe 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, depending on how quickly we evolve in our consciousness. Do you follow what I'm saying?
I totally do. And let's not get ahead of ourselves. God bless you. Oh my gosh. We could keep talking for hours. I'll put all of your information in the show notes, but in case somebody's listening to this and not looking at it right now, if they want to find you, what's an easy website or your favorite place for them to come and find you and follow you and connect?
Yeah, probably the easiest is my website, which is www.coachingwithhorses.com. And then I have two Facebook pages. One is Kathy Pike dash coachingwithhorses.com. And then, of course, just my Kathy Pike wall on Facebook. Either of those. That's that's where I play the most.
Awesome. Oh, well, thank you for coming and playing with us and this conversation and sharing so many stories and so much incredible wisdom. I'm so grateful. And honestly, I could keep talking for another 10 hours with you. So
Right. Yeah, we kind of did a lot of future talking, and that's really, really fun. But I want to leave everybody with the thought of, horses are very, very intelligent beings. And if we can all switch from what can you do for me to what are we doing today and
mm,
what do I need to receive from this animal, from this
mm,
dog?
mm,
How can I see this as an individual so much more deeply at a level where now it's a two-way conversation and a
mm,
deep two-way conversation.
mm. Powerful. I love that so much. Thank you so much, listeners. Hats off to you, Kathy Pike.
Thank you, Kat, for what you're doing. This is so much fun. Yeah, congratulations on what you're creating. And I hear you have a lot of followers, so it's beautiful.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Till next time, have a
Bye.
beautiful day with horses.